All right, we're going to get started. Thank you so much for joining us today at ZENcast. We are here coming up to the middle of August here. So we're going to do ZCM 2020 Mobile Management Part 2. We had Mobile Management Part 1. Vikram was on last month or so ago, and he came back to give us the final part of the Android side of it. But let's go ahead and move through some housekeeping stuff for you new users or new viewers out there. Log into YouTube chat and you can join the conversation, and you'll see the chat, and you can converse with other colleagues in the chat. @ in front of their name will direct message them directly. And then there may be polls that are coming up on the screen, and you can take those polls. Also, there are commands. If you see in my presentation an exclamation point with letters, go ahead and type that in the chat, and you'll get the link directly so that you can just click on the link instead of typing out the full URL. Okay, so be aware that that's there. YouTube settings might turn off autoplay and set the quality to a particular setting like 720 p60. That'll give you the best quality and not going in and out of settings. And then most of all, subscribe to these notifications, and you'll get notifications when we go live and when there's new content. We're looking forward to your content, so please let us know if there's anything you're looking for. Please comment down below after it's published, and I'll answer any questions you have. Or you can email me at paul.pedron@microfocus.com. Okay, so let's move on. Conference gatherings, ZENcast. I don't have any new stuff coming. There's going to be some, I think in November there's going to be a conference. I don't remember what organization was putting it on for Micro Focus, but we'll get that and put it in here once we find out. But this particular ZENcast goes the first and third Tuesday of each month, so it's semi-monthly at 9 o'clock Mountain Time. We're glad you're here. We're glad you're taking the time to view us. We hope we have content for you that you could use and understand. We want you to get to know the product better. We want to get to know you better. And then also for you to reach out with other colleagues and maybe figure out if other colleagues are doing what you're doing and basically connect. So we're glad you're here today. We're on for the next 2 hours. I hope to bring you some great stuff that you can really use. Webinars and cool solutions. So the webinar index is there. They have taken the past years of webinars and put them all together, and even though they may be a couple years old, the product is evolving, and it'll have those base features in the product. So if you're looking for a particular feature, you'll probably find a webinar on it, and at least that'll introduce you to it and get you rolling. Patch Tuesday highlights is there. So we started a Patch Tuesday highlights once a month. So look out on the ZENworks tips and information site for that, and subscribe there, and you'll get notifications when that gets updated. But this will give you details on patches, Patch Tuesdays, things to be aware of, maybe things that are coming out or discovered, but also coming out of end of life, like some of the Windows 10 products, some of the older versions. Also, what might be affecting the antivirus community or the patch community. So be aware of those out there. That's new. It started last month. This month's is out there as well. And then Open Horizons Magazine, Behind the Scenes of Service Desk is out there. It was a nice article back, I think in May. Jason Blackett put an article out there, and I came across it. It was a good read. So if you're in Service Desk or want to know about Service Desk, it really gives the basics and the build-up and understanding of the ZENworks Service Desk product. Also, Patch Tuesdays does show July. They put out the Patch Tuesdays right around this week, so mid-month. So August should be coming out at any time. Product news. We got a little bit of changes in product news. Of course, we've talked about the current version of ZCM 2020 Update 1. There's a ZDC. There's an agent cleanup. And you can look at TID 7024523 for that. The ZCM PRU for August 2020 is out there. There's imaging driver updates for 17.1, 2, 3, and 4, as well as 2020 and 2020 Update 1. Do be aware that ZCM 2017 committed support ends the 31st of October this year. Now, if you're on 2017 or even 11.4 and you're trying to get up to speed, please give us a call, reach out to us so that we can help get you where you need to be, and you can take advantage of those features and have all those fixes in your product, getting you up to 2020. So we're happy to help and get you where you need to be. So please reach out. Also, ZENworks Service Desk. We're currently at version 8.12. 8.2 beta is starting now. If you want to be on the beta for Service Desk, please, zen@microfocus.com. Tell them I want to be on the version 8.2 ZSD beta, and then they'll reach out. It's going to be starting any day now, and even if you haven't joined yet, they're still accepting participation for that. ZENworks Reporting Server current version is version 7.2. There were security patches, so be aware that online updates, you have some security patches in there for 7.2 and 6.4. Database migration tools, we've had this on for a couple weeks now. Sybase, MS SQL, or Oracle to PostgreSQL for ZCM, and then there's an MS SQL to PostgreSQL for Service Desk. Version 12.7 of desktop containers is out. They had an issue with that Windows Update 20H1 that affected the product, so 12.7 fixes that, and that's in TID 7024674. However, exciting news, and hopefully we can bring them on the ZENcast soon, is the Micro Focus Desktop Containers version 20 is coming soon. All right? Going to have a lot of enhancements, going to have a lot of new features for you work-at-home users needing to have the product or being able to put the icons on home users' desks and being able to stream those. There's a lot of exciting stuff coming in version 20. So I'm excited for that, and I hope to have them on ZENcast so we can explain some of those capabilities, because it will really help enhance your working at home users getting what they have at their desk, normally what they have at their desk. So be excited with that. Look for that in upcoming September, October timeframe. We'll try and bring them on. Also, some Micro Focus resources, COVID, Micro Focus tools to secure and connect your users. They had some filer licenses and stuff. I think it was through August or September. Don't know if they extended that. But we are trying to provide some tools for the at-home users, because this was, the pandemic just hit us all of a sudden, and we're just trying to reach out to you to help you get your at-home users working. Newly designed Micro Focus support pages and portals, lifecycle, and product resources are all out there, so those are ready to go. And they've been slowly migrating things together. They're making it a little bit easier to navigate to what we're used to when we had the older websites like the Novell product line and so forth, Novell website and so forth. Again, education resources. I won't go through each one of these, but they're here for your consumption, being able to see where to find your on-demand training, education center, knowledge base. Also, don't forget about like those web recordings I talked about earlier, and the ZENworks documentation. The product forums are great. You guys collaborate, and we get a lot of neat input from you guys, understanding how you're using it, so that we can help improve. And then also the ideas portal. Make sure the ideas portal, you put in your ideas so that we can help enhance that. New ZENworks patch management training is available, came out I think last month. We're using the Acclaim badges, which is the standard certification badges that you now have. So you can be certified on ZENworks patch management and officially have those Acclaim badges you can put on your business card or wherever you need to display that. Also, searching the Micro Focus site. If you just go directly to the Micro Focus site, microfocus.com, use the search button. I just found this out. I think I mentioned it last week. Go up to the Micro Focus site. For instance, if we... my browser's having an issue on that. So I clicked it. It's not going to open. Go up to the search in the upper right-hand corner and type cookbook. It'll bring you, type the TID, it'll bring you right to that location. So that actually has a more enhanced searching capability than just searching the Micro Focus site. It also does the technical stuff. And then Patch Finder is the same thing. Go into your Patch Finder and finding those patches for your version of ZENworks, Configuration Management, or ZAM, or Patch Management, whichever. A new Engaged newsletter's out. So August is out. So go there and find that particular news. It's not just on ZENworks, but it includes ZENworks, any ZENworks training, any ZENworks videos, ZENcast videos, also other things like Filer, iPrint, and other Micro Focus products that are in those lines of Security Engage or Information Management and Governments. It's a nice little read. It's not heavy, but it also has links to the direct readmes or documentation that it's talking about. So it's a nice little newsletter that they put out for the customers. Now, the last demo we had, Bob Reynolds was on, systems engineer, and he did some ZENworks. He covered some things about ZENworks asset management. ZENworks inventory, asset management, service desk, the CMDB asset management, and then some reporting in ZCM and ZERS. So if you haven't seen the last episode, it is on asset management, covering all the way from ZCM into service desk and some reporting. Do take a look at it. It's out there, it's published, and we'd like to get your opinion on it, comment on it, and let us know how anything else that we may have left out. Send us questions. Happy to answer those for you and see where we can take it to, where you can take it to the next level in your asset inventory. Topics today is MDM Part 2 with Vikram Goyal. He's a ZCM Product Manager. Next month, we're going to have things like ZENworks system auto builds or test environments, ZENworks test environments, both ZSD and ZCM, how it's real easy to prop up a test environment. We have Peter Sumption, who's developed a service desk script, and it will bring up a service desk within minutes. And we'll hopefully have him on so that he can show us that, and you guys can be privy to that particular coding so that you can get a service desk test system up. Again, test systems are the best things to be able. You may not have a perfect production environment in your test environment, but I had a colleague that used to tell me that if you didn't have a test system on purpose, you'll have one on accident, which meaning you're using your production system. So we don't want to do that. And then you get so much out of it, being able to see how it responds when you're doing upgrades or deployments, as well as if you're doing other detail, if you wanted to make moves or changes to your systems. We'll also in September have some inventory management. We'll go into that a little more detail in ZCM because Bob did a great job in service desk. He covered ZCM and then went into service desk in pretty much detail. We're going to introduce that some more. And then bundles and virtual applications. I hope to have desktop containers, admin studio, and kind of understand how we can now, using version 20 of desktop containers, how that will help you in your environment and your at-home workers. That's coming up. Again, we went through the ZENcast and we had comments from you about different things going on in your environments and what you're looking for, either maintenance or mobiles or patching. And we're trying to cover those the best we can. If you have any more ideas, please send them in. Let us know. We'd like to help cover that. This is supposed to be a forum for you guys, and that you guys can leverage and ask questions and so forth. So please send those things in. We're going to go into any questions regarding any of the stuff. I know it's pretty generic, straight through. If you have anything in chat, please put it in. I'd be happy to respond to it, and we'll move forward. We're going to go into the lab talk, and part of this lab talk is about a month ago we had Vikram Goyal, a ZCM Product Manager, who did part 1. He went through setups, APNS, he did enrollment policies and rules. He talked to us a little bit about corporate, personal, and BYOD devices and how they're affected inside managing them with ZCM. Enrolled iOS device, he primarily focused on iOS devices first. Talked about trusted profile, trusted certificate, device information in ZCC. Apple Business Manager, he talked a little bit about that. So if you haven't seen part 1, it has a lot of these details, and it was just, we got great response from it. So that was focused on DMZ as well as setup and configuration in ZCC with the iOS devices. Today we're going to be bringing him on, and we're going to be talking on as part 2 on the Android and doing some setup, subscriptions, and stuff like that. I'm going to see if Vikram's out there. Vikram, you out there?
Hey, Paul. Good morning.
Good morning, Vikram. How are you?
I'm doing fine. How are you?
Thank you for joining us today. Yeah, I'm doing really well. Had some panic issues with that my mic there a little bit, but we're good now. So I think we're good. If there's any, Jose, thanks for joining us. If you can hear Vikram, please let me know. I want to make sure that we are passing that to him. Hang on a second. I'm looking for. I'm going to test. Yeah, there's my Yeti, and I think we're good. Vikram, you were here a little bit ago, and you covered a lot of ZCM MDM, but we kind of ran out of time. So I'm excited to hear that you're back. Thank you for coming back, and let's dig into it a little bit further.
Great. Let's do that. So I'm hoping this time I don't run out of time.
And we can always do some more. So that's the beauty about this. But thank you so much.
Not a problem. So quick check. Can you see my screen?
I can see your screen.
Okay, great. So hello, everyone. So last time around, as Paul mentioned, I focused mainly on the overall setup as to how you can actually go about setting up the mobile management within ZENworks, and we touched upon quite a lot of functionalities on the iOS side of the thing. So this time around, I'll start off with how you can actually manage Android devices using ZENworks. And I'm hoping that as a part of this, we will go through the initial configuration, how you can set those things up, and how you can deploy applications, email, etc. And we'll try to see how much we can cover. It's pretty a lot of stuff. So I'll try to go at a gentle pace, maybe not very fast, maybe not very slow. And please feel free to send questions my way as and when you see something.
Yeah, if I see anything, I'll be sure to relay it to you. Thanks, Vikram.
Okay, great. So let's start out with the ZENworks itself. And as you see, this is a 20.update1 build, which I'm actually using. So we'll start again on the mobile management getting started page. So this page does list out a lot of the things as we talked about in the earlier talk, that what really needs to be done to get things up and working. So as part of the iOS management, we definitely went through how to set out the user source, enrollment policy, and the MDM servers. And at that point of time, we shifted our focus to managing the Apple devices. And that's where we left it and went through that particular part. So today we'll take another path, which is how you actually go about managing the Android devices. So let's work with that. So just like the Apple devices, Android devices also, we need to configure a way through which we can actually reach out to these devices as and when ZENworks really needs to. So obviously, in the most general use case, these devices are out there on the world, out there outside your internal network. So there's really no way for a direct way that a ZENworks server can reach out to such devices. So just like the Apple side of the things, what the ZENworks server needs to do is that we will reach out to Google. So Google has provided a set of the services. And via that service, we will actually then reach out to the Android devices. And that's just plain courtesy that all these devices, all Android devices, maintain a near constant connection back to the Google services. So if I need to wake a device up or ask us to do something, I first need to reach out to Google services, send something, send him, okay, hey, wake this device up and let it do my bidding. And that's the way it goes. So that's actually the first thing which we will now start setting up into the zone is that how does a ZENworks server communicates back with this Google services. So over here, we go to the configuration page, and here you see something called push notification. So last time around, we configured Apple push notification. So this time around, we'll configure Firebase cloud messaging. So this is a service which is provided by Google. So what we first need to do is that we need to open up this Firebase developer console. So I'll go into incognito mode and try to open up there. Otherwise, it always has, I run into account issues. I have 3 different accounts and so that's where it runs. So here, what I'll do is I'll start out by setting my Firebase project. So this is a free service. Anybody can do it. So what we recommend is that if you see, I had to log into a Google account to access this particular page. So again, the recommendation, as in case of the Apple devices, is that always use an official account or something which is not your personal email account, and use that going forward, because it will always help. It will always come in handy not to use your personal account here. So we'll go about creating a project, and I'll just give it some good name. And I'll disable the Google Analytics. So this is something which we right now don't need. So it will go about creating a project. So let's wait for it.
So this is setting, sorry. So this is setting up your basic, your
Firebase
connection to get your tokens and so forth.
Right. So what I'm going to, so essentially what I'm setting up is I'm setting up ZENworks to talk to Google service. So I can communicate back with it, and through that, I can communicate to the device. So the first step is to set up so this whole process of, so this is, for this, I need to set up Firebase cloud messaging.
Gotcha.
And as a part of that, what I need to do is I need to first create a project over here. So that was the project which I just created. And that's it. So that's where I'm here. So this is my Firebase cloud messaging project. And okay, so far so good. So now let's go back to our ZCC. And when we go to this Firebase cloud messaging system, I see 2 key things which I need to have. One is the project JSON file, and then there's a server key. So these are the 2 essential things which I'm really looking for from here. If you really need to look at the steps, so you can click on this online documentation doc over here, and it takes you to a good enough page. And it actually walks you through step by step as to how things need to be done. Yeah. So do note that the screens will look a little bit different, but underlying information, you should be able to find it out. So we do try to get this updated. And the reason the screens look different, let's say from what you see over here, is that because it's UI, right? It changes at a very fast pace, more so what we can do. So over here, this was an add project here, and now I need to do an add Firebase to an Android app. So I'll click on the link over here, and this is an Android app link. If I do this thing, I need to specify a app name. So this essentially refers, so if you see com.novel.zap, what it will do is that it will actually, so this is the name of the ZENworks agent app, which is available in the Play Store. And essentially what it will instruct this is that through this particular project that you have created, you can reach out to this particular app. So that's what it's essentially doing. And I'll just do a click on the register app. And so this was the, you see this download Google services.json. So this was what I was looking for over here. Sure. I will download this and have it saved. So these are something which are for more advanced things. I don't really need that. So I can just say next, and I just can continue to the console. So this was a JSON. So what I will do is I will go over here and add this JSON file, which I just downloaded. And okay, one down. So then the next thing is that we need to look for a server key. And the server key is something which is available in project settings. If you go to the cloud messaging and this big thing, and I'm now going to type in one by one. It is A. I'm kidding. I'll just do a copy. That's where, and this. So at this point, actually, you're done, but it's always a good practice to make sure that note down that what is the Google ID which you have used in case you have more.
Oh, that's a good idea.
It's always handy. It will come in quite useful. And at this point in time, I should be able to test the server key, and it says server key is valid, and I can do an apply. And I'm done. So at this point at the time, Firebase Cloud Messaging Service is unable. So what it will do is that it will essentially allow me to talk to the ZENworks agent app on the devices which are registered with me. So it is just not that I can talk to any ZENworks agent app, maybe of any other user, nothing like that. So as a part of the registration process, when the initial app actually gets downloaded, what it will do is that there is a set of the ID exchange which will happen. And that's ID. It's only with those apps I can actually, those instances of the apps I can actually interact with. So let's say if I'm in a company A, I can't really reach out and message users of company B. Though they may be using the same app, that's just not going to happen. Okay, so Firebase Cloud Messaging. So now I can talk to the device. That's the easy part. Now, for the Android devices, if we have to manage them, so what we are making use of is something called Android Enterprise. So this is a program which is offered by Google, and Micro Focus is a partner in this respect, and we support 2 different solution sets. So available, and we are essentially making use of the native Google APIs which are available on the device. So as a part of this next set of the steps, what we are going to do is that we are going to set up this Android Enterprise subscription, and which will essentially enroll your organization into this Android Enterprise program and will provide the capabilities to manage these devices. So let's start by going ahead with the subscription. So Android Enterprise subscription, go ahead with this. And I'll just give it another good name. Okay, and here. So what you need over here are your Novel Customer Center credentials, or your partner, or your credentials through which you can actually download, through which you can access the Novel Customer Center. The reason why you need these credentials is that at this point in time, when you actually click on the enroll over here, the ZENworks server will reach out to a server which is located in the Novel Credential Center, will make sure that you're entitled to access the you have entitlement for the ZENworks, and only then it will actually allow you and pass on this request back to the Google. So if you see, and it will become clear in just a minute. So first check what happens when I click on the enroll is that we will make a check. The request will reach out to the Novel Customer Center. We will make sure that you are actually have an entitlement for the ZENworks. And again, wrong credentials. Okay, that's where it is. So once it makes a check that you're entitled, then what it will do, it will pass the request which you just sent back to Google. And this is the Google's screen through which you have to now go through to enroll your organization into the Android Enterprise program. So we will straight away get started. and your business name. So we'll just say that's our business name. And here it will tell you that it is who is the EM provider. So since you are coming through our API, that's where you see ZENworks configuration management. Okay. And these are the contact details about the data protection officer, EU representative. And as I realized today, I don't really have to fill in these details. If I just click on I've read, I think this is good enough for Google right now. So I'm sure at some point at the time, I'll definitely, if I persist and if I'll get a mail asking me where those data, where that names are. So that's it. So yeah, so I just click on the complete registration here. It will come back here and it tells me the Android Enterprise account registration is complete. And I have to go through still some couple of more steps to complete this sign up process with Google. Okay, so I click on next over here. And let's see where it takes me. Okay. So at this time, it's actually asking me to select a user context. So the question comes, hey, why am I actually being asked to select a user context? And in some respect, this is actually a kind of a forward-looking thing which we built into the whole system. So right now, actually, you can just have only one Android Enterprise subscription in your ZENworks zone. But we thought that tomorrow it is definitely possible. Let's say if you are a bigger organization and each of your, let's say, entities or let's say schools or something, right? They may have their own set of the organizations through which you may want to manage the Android devices. So potentially it is possible that you can have one subscription and that subscription may, let's say, correspond to school A. And then you may have users of the school A. So potentially you can have subscription 2, which can correspond to school B, and then you can have users of school B also.
I see.
So, right. So that's that. And then we can actually differentiate these things. So right now, so this is something which we wanted to do, which we plan to do in maybe latter set of the releases. But as of now, we only support one subscription, so you can have only one subscription. But we thought it prudent that it's always a good idea then to associate a set of the users who are going to be using this particular subscription. So that's the reason why you see a select user context here, because it helps us in the forward-looking manner. So over here, I'll just go and add all my users, which are present in my user source. Otherwise, if you have, let's say, in another scenario, it was definitely possible that I said, okay, I can only select only certain set of the users from my user source, and in another subscription, I could have selected another set of the users. So
sure.
I go over here, third screen, which actually is about the languages in which app details should be retrieved. So through this program, you can also purchase applications from the Google's Play Store, and then you can have them deployed. So when we retrieve the data of an app, right? So this particular screen indicates that in what all locales we'll be retrieving the data in. So obviously, the more the locales you select, the more the data we will be downloading back from the Google console. So right now, I'll just stick to English, and that's where you will see. And this is a bundles part where that as and when I actually purchase any applications, how and where they will get downloaded. So I'll just leave them in the default folder, and I'll say, excuse me, all the bundles will be created in a published version. So that's it. That's the finish button, and we'll just wait for this to finish. And you have the Android subscription available. Just note it straight away doesn't work. It takes some time. So you see message here, server identification is in progress. So we need to be patient with this. Okay. So while this actually goes on, what we will do is that what has happened on the Google side of the things, right? And actually, this is a good idea, right? So there's a link over here through which you can access the admin console on the Google. So I'll click on this, and actually not click, I'll just copy this one. Again, I'll go back to my incognito mode. And if you see here, now this is my Google Play /work. So I don't do this. I'm taken to a normal Play Store. If I want to get to this thing, I need to go to play.google.com/work.
Gotcha.
As simple as that. If I go to the admin settings over here, I see I'm registered. It is ZENcast 2. This is the name which we gave out. And it will also give you an organization ID, which you should see here. Same ID. So they are linked. And that's it. So at this point of the time, what I see, I have my managed apps, which is already there. And the reason why you see is that I had already used this ID before. So those apps are still available. So at this point of the time, I will go on a purchasing spree, and maybe I'll start buying some apps.
Perfect.
Right. So let's start with Micro Focus. So we go to Micro Focus Filer. I need to do an approve. And if you see, this app offers managed configuration. So this is something, if you remember in the previous ZENcast, we talked about how you can configure the apps to have configurations which can then be deployed on the end user's devices, and they will auto-fill. And time permitting, we'll definitely see a example of this, which will be working. So right now, we will just do an approve, and this will just. So what it tells you that this app is going to have this permission. So it has access to photos, media, contacts, reading, storage. And when you approve of it, you are essentially approving it on the behalf of your end users. That's what you're really doing, right? So this screen actually tells you that, okay, as and when, because an app will keep on getting updated, and it is possible that it will, the app developer may add new permission requests. So what happens then? So the idea here is that that's what you specify here, that we are saying here is that keep them approved when the app requests new permissions. Otherwise, let's say if I choose this particular option, what will happen is that as and when app developer, let's say they were earlier asking, let's say just for phone access, and tomorrow, let's say if they start asking for location access also, then the app approval will get revoked. And then you have to do a manual step to get the app back into your store until it is reapproved. So for the sake of simplicity, I can see a keep approve. So obviously this option actually helps you against, let's say, if you choose this revoke app approval, it will help you against apps which can surreptitiously ask for new permissions. And since you have already given a blanket approval, those app developers can get access to that kind of the data on the device. So that's something. And this is about the notification. So I'll just leave it over here this way. So done. And for a use case today, what we are going to do is we are going to use a couple of more apps. So I will use Outlook. So we will go ahead and purchase Outlook. And again, it's the same way that we are actually asking for permissions and so on and so forth. We will done here, right? And the last app which I was planning to do was Chrome. And we'll go ahead and buy Chrome also. So if you see, this is something similar to Apple Business Manager console, what we talked about in the last ZENcast, where we were purchasing apps, and it's identical in that respect, right? Concept-wise.
Right, and it puts them into that particular subscription.
Yeah, and this is done, right? So we have bought, if I see right now, my managed apps, it will show me 3 managed apps, and these are my web apps, and we'll try to cover that during the course of today's session. Okay, at this point of the time, I'll come back here and try to see how far things have gone. If I see here, now it says new, and I'll go ahead and do a run now on the subscription. Again, as similar to the Apple side of the things, now when I actually run the subscription, what it will do, it will actually contact the Android Enterprise that console, which we just showed, and it will pull in the app data from that console, and it will create corresponding set of the bundles automatically, which we had, and place them in a location which we had specified earlier. So if you see, it will, these are the apps it will keep on creating. Another thing to note here is that unlike the Apple subscription, which actually runs periodically, on the Google side of things, Google subscription actually maintains almost a near constant connection back with the Google's Play Store. So if you buy an app right now, most probably without even you needing to run a subscription again, it will the ZENworks will get notified, and that data will be pulled in, and then bundle will be created. So it's almost instantaneous. The minute you purchase an app in the Google Play Store, the minute it actually appears here. And I'll show you here that how fast this thing can work. So we go back to the mobile management, and if you see, there's an apps catalog page which is present over here, and all those apps have come in. So these are my, let me filter them on the, on the Android apps. And you see, these are the 3 apps which you just purchased, and they appear over here. And just to give you a kind of how fast this thing actually works.
Oh, that's fantastic.
Right, so that's already there. Now, what we will do is that we'll try to buy some another app and just see. Let's do the Evernote. Okay, and we'll do here. Go. Done. Right. So I just need to do a click here, and most probably this should appear over here. If it doesn't give it a minute or so, it will be there. Evernote will appear over here. Okay, so at this point in the time, what we have done while we see,
yeah, there it is.
Came in. So at this point in the time, what we have done is that we have established a connection back to Google so that we can talk to the devices. That's the first thing which we did. The second thing which we did, we established, we enrolled the organization of the ZENworks configuration. We enrolled the organization into Android Enterprise, and we ensured that the ZENworks server can talk to the Google's Play services to fetch the right set of the details. So we have all the apps over here and so on and so forth. So I've still not gone into the enrolling of the devices and to see how the things actually work out. So we'll go over there in just a little bit, right? Before that, let's say I as an admin would actually like to do is that I'll actually want to make sure before I enroll devices, I have actually things all sorted out and done. So that's what I'm really planning to do as of today is I'll go about, identify that what all applications needs to go and sit on the device. I'll define out the policies and so on and so forth, and I'll make all those assignments. And at that point of the time, when I actually enroll the device should just get everything and it should be just ready to go. So that's what we're planning to do today.
Okay, great.
Right. So, okay, so this point of the time, what we will start off with, give me a minute, let me get this thing. Email. Okay, so let's start with an email. How can you provision email onto the device? That's most probably the first thing which you will really want to provision onto the device. So I don't think that we got the time to talk about it previously, but essentially there are 2 ways in which you can provision email onto the devices. One is that where the ZENworks server acts as a proxy server. That's the first way. The second way is that you essentially take the configuration details of the email server, right, whichever it would be, and you then apply it onto the device through, and you need to specify the application on which it will happen. So please do note that there's some good differences between the email provisioning on the Android side of the things and the way it happens on the iOS side of the things. The part where, let's say, ZENworks can act as a proxy server in that scenario. So typically what happens is that the use cases which we have found which come in is that a lot of the customers, they don't want to put their email servers, let's say, out onto the DMZ for whatever reasons it may be. So they just want maybe one server to be the access point. So one of the reasons it is that they don't really want they want to have a central management control, which ZENworks can offer if all the email is actually going through ZENworks. In that scenario, what you may need to do is that you need to set up ZENworks to act as a proxy server. And so when the ZENworks is acting as an email proxy server, what it is going to do is that ZENworks is going to fetch email from the email server, and then it will send those emails back to the devices. So from all practical purposes, for the devices, ZENworks server acts as the email server. So if I have to, let's say, configure email manually on my mobile device in that scenario, I will actually type in a ZENworks server name rather than my actual email server name. So that's the kind of the proxying what we can actually do. Okay, that's one way of doing the email configuration. And this is essentially applicable both for the Android side of the things and the iOS side of things. It works similarly. The second way is that I don't really want to be the proxy server because maybe I don't really envisage this thing, or maybe my configuration setup is not set up in that fashion, so whatever your reason may be. But what you want to do is that you actually want to provision the email details directly onto the mobile devices. So on Android, what you need to do is that you need to make sure that you provision an application onto device. So, and as part of that application, what we will be doing is that we will be specifying the credentials or the email details through which this can work out. So what we will do is that we will try to configure this Microsoft Outlook, right? And so this is a bundle. So this is the email app which I've chosen to be deployed onto all my users' devices, and I will configure this email app so that when the end users actually open this app, they don't really need to type in any configuration, and they can just they just need to type in with their password, and they can be good to go.
So it'll have the presets.
Yes. So that's what we're going to show, how to set up those presets. This specifier. So okay, I missed this particular step. Sometimes for some of these apps, what you need to do is that you need to actually accept the permissions. So that's what we are going to do. We are going to select all these things and okay, one at a time. Sorry. So it says edit app permissions, and it's telling you these are the permissions and these are default permissions. I'll just say update. So typically I've seen this thing happening as and when you purchase a new app, so it's always a good idea to review the permissions which are available here and make sure that those are in some things. So you can actually tweak those permissions. So if I go over here and do this edit permission, so this app is going to ask for all these permissions. These are the granular permissions. And if you see, these are not really the detailed permissions which we saw when we were trying to approve these permissions in the Google Play console. So these are more granular permissions. And you can just choose them through the default, or you can actually auto grant them on the behalf of your end users. So if I choose that, then end users won't really be prompted for any of these permissions.
I see.
Right. So I'll just do an update on this one. Right, so let's go back to our Outlook file. It's still having an icon. Okay. Okay. Now it's telling me that this app has a latest configuration parameter. So this icons, right? So this is something which you will keep on seeing frequently with Android apps. And the reason it is that, say tomorrow, let's say if you're the Android developer, he added another configuration parameter, right? Then how would you really know? So the icon on that, this warning icon on that app, that will actually indicate that something has changed on the app, and then you should potentially go back and revisit this app and see what has actually changed, and then set of the values. And again, the same thing is actually for the permission also. Let's say if the developer has added a new set of the permission, so that icon will pop up.
Like a reminder prompt. That's good. Okay.
Right. Okay, so as you see, these are the configuration parameters which are there, and there are a lot of them. So many things which you can configure, but at this point of the time, we will actually restrict ourselves to only a few parameters. So if you see over here, I'll go back and click on this email address, which is, and I need to specify a value. So what should I specify? Should I specify the full value, or should I specify something else? So help is on the way over here. If you see, we do support a lot of the system variables. So any system variable, if you have a system variable which you want to use over here, you can use it, but we also have some default system variables which are already available, and you can actually use it. So I have a system variable which is $email, and I can actually use this straight away. So what the system variable will do is this variable will fetch the email ID. So when we actually send this bundle down to the device, this particular parameter will get replaced by the actual value of the email, which is applicable for the user. That's what's going to happen. So obviously the benefit is that you can actually then take one bundle and assign it to all of your users rather than trying to create different bundles, which is, I don't even think somebody does that actually, come to think of it. So another thing would be the username, and this will be, what's a username? And again, what I'm going to do is I'm going to specify email here. And as you are just going to see, that's actually more due to the setup, the way I have. Ideally, what I would have actually done, if this setup would have been done a little bit different fashion, that I would have maybe chosen my login name as the value over here. But due to the way I've actually set up this whole system, I'm constrained to use email as a particular username. But again, right, it can be any system variable. You can define your own setup, the way you can construct them, and you can use them over here. Okay, so these are the things which we'll restrict ourselves to. Okay, I'm sorry, I forgot this one. And this would be Outlook Thought. Give me one second, which it is Office 365. Let me just check that also before I go. Yeah, it works. So, so this is essentially the active sync server address, right? So, and this can be any Exchange server URL, whichever you are really looking into. If you were using ZENworks as a proxy server,
I'm on mute if you
and so this was a scenario where, say, if I specify this thing, then device is actually going to directly reach out to the outlook.office365.com, and that's what it is going to use as a fetch the email from. But in scenario, if you want to redirect this email through ZENworks, so for the Android devices, what you need to do is that instead of outlook.office365.com, you would need to specify the ZENworks server address. And that's just about the change here. And in that case, then we will start routing the email. So the device will reach out to the ZENworks server for the email, and we have another email policy, which will essentially, we have to make sure that those users are entitled to receive email, and post that, we will actually start just sending the email down to this device. So That's a flow I'm not planning to cover today. And if time willing, I can always try to come back and try to walk through. So at this point in time, this is the.
Sorry, is that a common, using the ZENworks as a proxy? Is that a common practice, or is that just another way?
A lot of people do. Again, right, it depends actually upon the reason which they are using, right? Some people want to just have a centralized management. They don't really want their devices which are outside to access email any other way.
Gotcha.
Right.
Okay.
See, otherwise what will happen if I am, let's say, using outlook.office365.com, right? On any device, I can actually then point to this server and fetch my email.
Gotcha. Okay. Thank you.
So, yeah. And that's it. So I'll go ahead and publish this bundle. And at this point of the time, I'm done. Okay. And what I will do is I will go ahead and now assign this to a user. If you see over here, and people who are using ZENworks, they may notice that we don't really have a device assignment available here. So that's the state currently as of update 1. So at this point in time, if I have a bundle or an app, I can only assign it to the users. And this is only true for Android devices. But in update 2, we will be adding the capability where you can actually assign those apps to devices also, not just users. So
okay, good.
That's coming in update 2. So what I'll do, I'll find out a specific set of the user and I'll just stick to this. So this is my user, which I'm going to use. And on this button, what it does, it gives you 2 options, which is next refresh or every refresh. If I say next refresh, it will try to install once. Till the time it succeeds, it will keep on trying. And if it fails, it fails. And if I say every refresh, what will happen that every time the device syncs back, the ZENworks server will check that whether the app is installed. If it is not installed, it will again push it down. So end user can't really get rid of the app. It will get installed again and again if they try to delete it. So, okay, this is an option which actually gives some control back into the hands of the end user. So right now, it says allow users to install from the managed Google Play Store. If I click this particular option, what will happen is that the app will be available on the device in the Play Store, and which we are just going to see as we go forward. But it won't actually be installed, and the end user has to go ahead and click install, and only then it will be installed. If I don't do this thing, ZENworks will make sure that the app is automatically installed, and that's the option what we are going to choose for this particular app in question.
So for personal devices, that gives them a little bit of ownership there.
Right. So it essentially gives them kind of the leeway that, okay, whether you want really. So it's more like a app store, right? So sure. It's essentially when you don't select that option, you have essentially, or when you have selected this option, essentially what you have done is that you have made these app assignments, right? Whatever you're doing, you have made them available on the app store, which is available on the device, on the Android device. And then user can choose, okay, which all apps they want to install and which all did not. Sure. If you don't select that option, you can make sure that the app is automatically installed on the device.
Perfect.
Okay, so this was the first bundle which we did, and that was an app bundle. Another thing which I will do is, okay. Paul, did we touch about the web apps last time around?
We did not. I don't believe web apps was one of them.
Okay, so let's do that. So what we will see is times, right? So this is the one which it is there. Okay, so web apps is essentially the web shortcuts to an application which you can provision on the device. So it can sometimes take some time. So I'm going to take you to the workflow as to how to go about creating a new web app. But when I do the actual assignment, I'll stick to the one which I've already there in my server.
A quick question came in regarding the proxies. Is there some diagrams regarding the proxy settings? We have some interest in that. Or is there the documentation cover some of that?
Sorry about that.
It's okay. So the question was, they would like to see some diagrams on the proxy concepts coming from Jose. Is there details that we could distribute for that? I'll put them in the comments after in the description.
Oh, I don't have them anything handy. I need to really look them up. So,
okay.
In some respects, it's like if I were to create a very crude block diagram, right? Everything has, if the email server has to be behind the ZENworks server, and the ZENworks server is there on the DMZ or behind the reverse proxy. That's just a plain simple configuration which we end up doing.
Okay.
And then
we'll see if we can get some diagrams later, Jose, for your questions. See if we can get that answered for you.
Okay.
Thank you, Vikram.
No, not a problem. So we're choosing the corporate bundle, and here we actually see web app. And this is actually available in update 1. So this is a new functionality which we introduced. So I'll just create a web app. So Paul, give me a website name, maybe something which is favorite of yours.
Favorite of mine. Let's see. Reddit.com.
Right?
I think so, yeah.
Do they have icon?
One
No,
C, I think.
Yeah, so we actually have that right.
I always have a link, so sorry.
Oh, that's okay. So we will say HTTPS www.try. This one?
I think so. We have to
click on the test URL and then we'll find it out. That's the good part about it. And let's see, does it goes red ID? Okay, Reddit. Yeah, that's it. Go.
It should come right up. Let me double check it. Sorry, that's a.
Something did came up. This one?
No. Hang on. Well, it's so hard. So many out.
That's Reddit. What it is. That's what you're talking about, right? Yeah.
REDDITT or IT.
Double D.
Double D, not double T. Thanks.
We should have started with the Google in the first
Yes.
Okay, what we did is, okay, yeah, this is the one, right?
There you go. That's
Reddit, right? So now what I need is an image for it, icon for it. So I'll just download this icon. It looks good.
Right.
Right. It looks interesting. So that's it. And I can save it. So if you see, I have not even actually cared to look at what's the size or something. So that's a good thing about this web app is it works with pretty much quite a lot of the sizes. So we don't really are bounding ourselves into this pixel image, though there's definitely standards, and that's what we were thinking that we will need to have them enforced, but during our testing we found it pretty much works independent of that. So that's why we're not really enforcing much over here. And we will, that's where it is. But if you go and look at the help, you should get, no, we haven't really done that. And that's it. So I've created this reddit.com, and that's how it will appear, and I'll have it done. And in the similar fashion, I will go and so if you see what actually is going to happen, that when you create this particular bundle is actually going to create an app on the Play console also. That's how the Google's this particular web app provisioning for the Android devices work, is that it's going to create a corresponding, it is treated like an app by the Google Play Store. And essentially what we have done is that from the ZENworks server, we have created an app which is just going to point to a link on the Google Play console. And we'll quickly, I think in some time, we'll go back and check back on the console, and we should see this particular app available over there also. And I actually did this wrong. Okay. At this point in time, we will again do the same thing. We will go ahead and assign it to a user the way we did earlier. And so now there's a web app which is also assigned to the same user. And here we will allow them to install from the managed Google Play Store rather than we trying to push it down. Okay. And so this was an app which I had created earlier in the morning, and I just want to make sure that this also is available. So this is actually also assigned to the end user. Okay. The last thing which I wanted to show before I move to some policies and then we do some more part is that we'll go ahead and assign a Wi-Fi profile onto the device. So if you want your users to use a corporate network, you can actually do that right from ZENworks. So I'll go ahead and select another corporate bundle. And in this time, instead of web app, I will actually select the Wi-Fi profile. And I'll go ahead and I'll give it some ZENcast Wi-Fi for whatever reasons. Give me an identifier SSID. It's going to be dummy one.
Oh, yeah. There you go. ZENcast is perfect.
Right. So if you see there are some options here. So if the auto-join, if you actually enable the auto-join, what will happen is that after provisioning, if the device comes in range of this particular network, it will automatically join this network. That's what's going to happen. We'll click on next here. So there are multiple options here, and don't get scared by the screen, but that's actually the reality of the Wi-Fi protocols. You really need to know your stuff before you can actually go back and configure this. We thought that we can actually simple for an admin to configure, but we realized there's really no simple way to do that. So what we will do is that we'll try out with the simplest thing that you can choose to have security in hand, but I'm sure that none of you actually has that. Those days are long gone. So you can choose personal type. Personal, in this we have only two options: WEP, PA, WPA2, and you can specify some things. But if you go to the enterprise type, that's where the whole fun starts. So you have these different encryption types, and then you have this. Is this encryption? I'm sorry, is this full form of this EAP is just eluding me right now. But
Yeah,
encryption. You Googled it?
No, I haven't. But I just know it as EAP.
Extensible Authentication Protocol. So this is a protocol which will be used for establishing authentication back to the Wi-Fi server. And as you can see, there's no really dearth of the protocols which are there, and within that also you may have different variations, which depends actually upon the kind of the Wi-Fi service you are using, whether it's a Microsoft, Cisco, Citrix, all those, they have their own different some iterations, but more or less it works. So here you need to choose a right set of the EAP protocol, so you can only choose one. So generally, the most common one is a PEEP one, so that's why it is selected by default, but the other ones are also available. And then you need to specify your username. So what we will do over here is that, again, here also you can actually use your system variables.
Oh, right.
They do work over here. So you can specify the username, and as and when we'll provision this profile, we'll replace the username by the actual user to which you've actually assigned this device. So that's something which is happening. And I'm just going to put in a password. But what I'm not really sure is, okay. Or maybe I'll just leave it like this, right? So if you don't specify the username, then the admin will be prompted with the end user will be prompted with the username also.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, right. But and the reason why I'm actually hesitant in filling this thing, I was seeing some set of the issues when trying to deploy this profile earlier. I'm not, and mostly those have to do with my setup, so I'm a bit hesitant on doing this thing. But otherwise, we'll come back and try to refine it. Right?
Okay.
So we'll do this thing. So this is a screen in which you can embed a certificate. So a lot of the so if the device is going to talk to a Wi-Fi server for the protocol, there are a lot of protocols in which a trusted certificate needs to be there, otherwise the connection will get refused. So this is a screen in which you can actually upload a trusted certificate, which will then get installed onto the device. So this trusted certificate essentially should belong not to the ZENworks server, but this trusted certificate should belong to the Wi-Fi server to which the device is going to communicate to.
Right.
And you can add the trusted server certificate names and so on and so forth. So in our testing, what we have seen that actually this can also serve as a roundabout way if I want to install a certificate onto the device. And I'm process of actually publishing a cool solution around it. So maybe I'll wait till that. So if you see, right, as a part of it, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to take a certificate and just put it in the trust store of the device. So it is possible that if you give a dummy Wi-Fi profile, you can actually install a real certificate onto the device.
Yeah, that makes sense. Sure. If you need to update it or something. Yeah, that makes sense.
This is a roundabout way. And this is obviously till the, so right now, we don't have a facility within ZENworks through which you can deploy certificates onto the Android devices. So this can serve as a roundabout. And I'm sure that I'm in the process of writing a cool solution around it. So maybe you should see something maybe in a month's time.
That's brilliant. Thanks.
Okay, and we'll again do this. And we are done with this one. Which was the one? Wow. So many are done today.
Well, that's version 0, yeah. So that's probably it.
Right. So I'll take this and again, okay, quick thing to note. Sorry about that. That was wrong. So I thought on this we have enabled the device management assignment part. No, that's not the one. Okay. And this I will want install, so I won't say allow users to install from the manage Google Play Store because I want it there on the device. And I'll do the finish, and that's it. I'm done on this one. So at this point of the time, if I go back and see this particular user, which is me, if I go back to the assignments, I will see I have a lot of the things. So this was a Wi-Fi which we just created. This is the Outlook thing. And I'm not even sure what this one is. This is the web app which we just assigned, so on and so forth. At this point in time, we'll take a step back and move away from the bundles, and we will go to the policies. And we will see that how we can make the life of the user a little bit more difficult in some manner by forcing to have a 16-digit passcode applied on the device. We'll try with that, and let's see. So we go with a create new policy, and where will we go? Mobile. You see, there are some set of the Android policy. I'll just give you a quick peek. This is an enterprise enrollment policy, and this is something which we will come back just in a bit before we, when we do the enrollment part of the things. And this is my general mobile policies, and that's where I'll stay with. And so enrollment policy is the one which we went through the last time around, and in this time we'll do a quick walkthrough of the device control policy and security policy. I believe we were not really able to go down into that much detail that time around. So just do a quick walkthrough of this. And so here you see, right, we have two ways, and I mean, you can define, I mean, this particular policy has lots of settings, I mean, really lots of settings. So the best way to do what we felt is that rather than actually forcing user to choose those, admin to choose those settings from the onset, maybe we can come up with some kind of the predefined presets, and they can choose those presets, and then most probably they will need to go back and edit those presets according to their liking. So again, we talked about the corporate and the personal part in the previous session. So I'll keep it as a moderate. And actually, since I'm going to use my device, it chooses a low. I'm going to use my personal device for this particular demo, so I don't really want to enforce something which is a bit hard for me to get.
You brave man, you.
So this is the one which we just did, right? TCP.
No, Android, the one above it.
I'm sorry, that was
our last one.
Yeah, that was for the last time around. And we'll go to the details section again. And you see here we have the settings of the Apple. This is something which we talked about, and as you see, there are tons of settings. At this point in time, we have actually stopped counting how many settings are there. I just say there are about 100 or so.
Lots, yeah.
Yeah, something like that. So on the Android side, that's what these are the settings are, and you can actually configure a lot of these things. So you can say screenshots, camera, and all those things. So if you see two options here. This is one, work managed, and the work profile. Right. So again, as we still haven't really done the enrollment part, so that's once we get to that. So there are two ways to enroll a device. One is essentially the BYOD device, in which it's your user's personal device, just like the device which we are going to. And then there's a device in which organization is most probably giving you a device for their own specific use. And in those scenarios, that device has been factory wiped, reset, and it's been given back to you, and it is essentially owned by the organization. So work managed refers to the devices which are owned by the organization, which are factory reset, and which essentially you can't really have anything on the device without the permission of the organization. And work profile are the ones which are the BYOD devices, in which the things will coexist. So there's a personal space on the device, and then there is a corporate space on the device. So that's what we are going to do. I'm not really going to say allow camera, screenshot, something, but let me see. Is there something which I can quickly test and show you? Straight away. So if you see, you can actually do a lot of things on the network side of the things, timeout, airplane mode, but all those things are possible on the devices which are owned by the organization, essentially the corporate devices. Those things are not possible on the BYOD devices so you can actually disable outgoing calls also.
Okay. Yeah.
Not on a BYOD device, not on the personal device. That's not just possible. Okay. And master volume preset 8, OS update. I'm tempted to do this thing, but I'm not going to do that. A lot of settings on the work management. Go ahead, Paul.
Just looking through a lot of it's your personal device, so I'm trying to be sensitive to that.
Yeah, that's why I'm also not really trying to be very adventurous over here. So.
I mean, screenshots might be one thing.
No, actually, what will happen is if I actually do the allow screenshots, so I'm going to mirror my device, right? When I'm actually going to show it, right? So as and when I will switch to the work profile mode, it will just stop showing. So I can't really do that.
Okay, no, that's fine.
Right, so I'll just leave this policy as it is, and we'll just go ahead and assign it, just to make sure. I think it will give you a good enough fair idea. So here, both the things are possible. It's just not limited to the users, but what I'll do, I'll just assign it to a user. And that's it, done. Right. Did you got a chance to go through the security policy last time, Paul?
I think we pulled one up. Okay. Let's take a look at real quick.
Okay.
Yeah, the biometrics and stuff.
Right. So all these, this is a security policy, and yeah, I would really like to mess with this one, but again, I'm not really being adventurous. But again, as you see, you can actually set the kind of the limits which you can do on the device password. So here, there is actually two things which are supported. This one. So, one second. Where is that setting here? So through this, you can actually enforce the password of the device. And as we're going to see that there is something called a profile going to be available on the device. And through that, you can actually enforce that whether that profile will have a separate password or it will have the same password. So that's what you can actually enforce over here. I'm just a little bit unfamiliar with this setting, but that is definitely possible. So I'll look that up maybe later. So at this point in time, we will actually go ahead and maybe publish this thing and assign this thing. So though, as you see, it is not really going to do much apart from setting that. I'll set this one also up to this user. And we are done. So at this point of the time, we have essentially applied and assigned a set of the policies, which is a security policy and a device control policy onto the user. And we have also assigned a set of the bundles and the profiles back to the user, but we still haven't done any enrollment. So let's get into that good part and see how do we go about enrolling a user. So again, we'll go back to the mobile management apps catalog page and getting started page, and then we will see what is something missing over here. Right, so we created the enrollment policy last time around, which will essentially govern that, okay, what happens when the device actually gets enrolled. So that's not something going to really go back again. But what we are going to do is that we are going to create an enterprise enrollment policy. Okay, so, and while we go through it, I'll explain the reason behind it, that why we need to really have a policy in the place altogether. Is this assigned? Sure, this is not assigned, or I'll remove it. Okay. We'll go ahead and create a policy. So this is a Android Enterprise Enrollment Policy. Give me a minute. I'll just. And that's it. You see, it didn't even ask me for anything.
For details, right?
No details are needed. So what this policy is, this is actually like an entitlement policy. So initially what we did is that when we set up the enterprise subscription, we just created a subscription and linked it back to a certain set of the users, right? But what we wanted to also control that, okay, again, it's like a more of a forward-looking thing that which all users can be allowed to enroll into the Android Enterprise program. It is just not that anybody can actually enroll in. So you needed to create this set of the policy, and then you need to assign it to a set of the users who are a subset of the users you have linked it back against the Android Enterprise subscription itself. So it's more like an entitlement, and for you to govern that, who all users can actually enroll themselves into the Android Enterprise at all.
Oh, I see.
Or
all right.
who can't enroll their devices. Because, see, the enrollment policy can be it's enrollment policy, the one which we defined earlier, right, in the last session, is more like an overarching policy through whoever is assigned to it can enroll their devices, right? They are actually allowed access to the overall enrollment. But through this, you can actually control that who all users can enroll their devices onto the Android at all account. So that's another level of the checklist is available here. And this is something which you need to do, otherwise things won't work. If you don't have a user, so that's like an entitlement, which we will need to set. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to set this at all my users, which I chose as a part of the enterprise subscription, have access to enroll this device. Okay. So that's the first, that was the one part. And at this point of the time, I'm actually ready to enroll my device. Okay. So how do we go about doing that? So typically, and that's just one of the ways in which we thought can actually help is that you will most probably need to, so how does the end user becomes aware that, okay, hey, he's now enabled or he can actually go about enrolling their device onto the ZENworks? So what we will do is that we are actually going to send them an email. So if you click over here, so this is a user which I'm going to enroll. I'll say invite users. And it will pop up something like this. So this is the language. So you can choose to send this email back to your end users in a different the language needed. So you can, or if you have your own custom language, you can actually define that also. And this is the MDM server. So this is a server against which they will be enrolled, which will be a part of it. And this is also, I'll just go ahead and click on send over here, Paul, and I'll just show you how this email actually appears over here. So if you see there are a lot of the, variables over here, but I think it's always a good idea to see how this email appears in the real life. So I go over here, and this is how this email will look like. The one which we just sent out.
Gives you the details you need for.
Right. Yeah, so what it does is, right, so it tells me my username, my password. I mean, this is my corporate password, right? Domain to which I really need to. All those things are there, and it gives me a set of the codes also. Okay. I think at this point of the time, it's a good time for me to switch to the device and show you how this email will get read and written. You can see the device, right?
Yes.
Okay, and yeah. So let me start with trying to read this. Okay, 1 second. Let me see if I can get them side by side and do something good. Sorry, this is struggling.
Just shift it over.
Yeah, that's what.
Just shift that whole one over.
There it is. Right. You can see it, right?
I got a blank screen, just a date and time on it.
Right.
Yeah, but we can see it, sure.
Right. Let me see if I can make it a little bit bigger. Yes, right. So that's the email, right?
Yes.
So
perfect. Looks good.
Let me open up and do some. It tells me this. I'm taking the Play Store. Right, it will take me, and since I've already got the app installed, so otherwise it would have asked me to install that, right?
Sure.
You're there with me? The screen is visible, okay?
I see it.
Device screen?
ZENworks agent, yep.
Right. I'll open the app. At this point in time, I can choose to fill in the details from this email if I want to. Right. But if you see, there's a scan to autofill also over here.
Yeah.
Something like this. And what we are going to do, we're going to
autofill it.
And it does. It got autofilled. We don't need this one. So I'll just type in my password. And so very secure password. And that's a trust certificate. So, right, obviously, if you're using a publicly trusted certificate, you won't really get this pop-up. The end users won't get this pop-up since I'm not in this scenario. So I am going to get this pop-up. I accept it.
Sure.
It goes up, tells me device enrollment is in progress. So at this point of the time, right, what's going to happen? So this is my personal device, which I'm really using. So if I'm enrolling into the Android Enterprise, it's not really going to do anything with my personal side of things. What it's going to do is going to create a corporate container on this device. And this, as you're going to see, this container is pretty, I mean, there's really no boundary to it, but still there's a really clear demarcation between that what belongs to the organization, what data, and what data belongs to you. And Google has actually enforced, and it's pretty hard to say, but they have actually done a better job in ensuring that none of your personal data can be accessed by the admin, or they don't really have any control. So it's really like a concrete wall between the corporate and the personal side of the things.
Well,
though it is invisible.
Good.
Right. Okay, it's all protected. So we'll just click on the next, and this is something. So till before, those screens were the app screens, and this is where we pass on the control of this whole set back to Google. So they are just going to create a work profile on the device. And these animations you will see differently for the different versions. So don't go by those. They keep on updating them. We click on next. Go. Don't give up on me. I don't even know why I'm actually praying, even though it has been done so many times. Most probably that always there must have to be something as bad has to happen. So we go ahead, and here's this device which just appeared over here.
Pixel, sure.
It's my Pixel, and you see all the relevant details, grid, etc., MAC address, and what all permissions which are available. So one thing which you're going to see over here is it's going to ask me to confirm the credentials. So it is possible to reset the password on the device, and for us to actually, for admin to actually have that access, you need to provide in the credentials. And then this is more of a Google practice, right? Device asks you to provide the credentials of your passcode. So I'm not going to show you my passcode. So I'm going to, right. This is the screen which you're going to see.
I can blank it out if you need me to.
No, that's okay. No problems. I will. Right, and at this point in time, if I refresh a device, it should just show me. Right, so it had reset password disabled, and it will just go ahead and do this thing. Gosh, see, this is what I was afraid of. Okay, I'm not going to change my password right now.
That's right.
So, right, and mostly that has happened because we should not have applied the security policy.
The security policy.
See, right, so that's the one which is causing me. So see, there you see two sides here. You see this was personal, and this is now work which has appeared here. And if I see in the work, I will actually get to see all the things which are assigned to me, and the things are still coming in, right? So I had assigned the Outlook app, so that appears over here. And at this point in the time, if I click on it, it will get me started. And these are the details, right? So this is my email account.
It's auto-populated.
Right. And continue. Password, if I go to the advanced settings, the address is also pre-configured, the server address. Right. And there goes my this, and I'll just click on that. Attempt to log in. Since this is an Outlook part, so it will ask me to type in again, but that's more the Microsoft thing because I'm directly reaching out to the Microsoft server.
Okay.
Right. Maybe later. Skip. There you go. I mean, it is all there.
There's the mail.
Outlook is configured. Right, now we also have a Play Store on the device. So this is a Play Store in which all the apps that you have provisioned will appear over there. So if you see, we provision Reddit, it comes in here.
Yep.
Right? And since we chose it not to be installed automatically, so it didn't got installed automatically, but we chose the Outlook to be installed automatically, so it did. And I'll just click on the install over here. And waiting for the open. I'll go over here, and so now it appears as an app over here. And if I click onto it, it requires Google Chrome. Strange.
Oh, that's interesting.
Right. So for this web apps to work, you actually need to have a Google Chrome on the device, and we did that, right? I think we didn't assign the Google Chrome. We didn't. We forgot to assign it. I believe so. Yeah, we never did that. I'm sorry, that's my bad.
No, I failed to realize that Reddit needed that.
No, I need, yeah, that was actually part of my, but that's always a good thing, right, to see it.
Yeah, good example.
Right, so that's something which you need to enforce, and what we will do is that we purchase this app, right? You remember that? We purchase this app, so what we will go is, we'll straight away go and assign it to this user. And now it should appear. And we'll make sure it gets assigned automatically. And we finish it. And at this point of the time, what we will do is that we will go ahead and refresh the device so it actually gets the assignment which we just did.
Sure.
Refresh device, we did. All right, so we should see, so it's a kind of the race. Okay, I'm not going to change my password till the end of this demo.
Yeah.
Hey, the Chrome came in.
Beautiful.
The Chrome came in, right?
Beautiful.
Okay, now if I do a Reddit, it will open up and it will say accept in Chrome, and that's it. So if you see it, I don't even get to see my browser bar. So it actually appears as a full web app. It's an app for all
Just the app
practical
itself. Yeah, right.
right? I can't really get to my URL and change it. Nothing like that.
Correct.
Same thing goes for this. This is another web app which I installed. It's not your actual app. It's still your web page only, but for all practical purposes, it appears like a application, native application.
App itself, yeah.
Right.
Now, question: the Chrome up above, is that's in your personal, so it wouldn't pull that
Right.
in,
So,
right?
right. So if you see, there are two Chromes. There's one Chrome here. It doesn't have a briefcase. That's my personal Chrome. Right, and this is my work Chrome.
So that's a great example of showing how it's separated, your personal opposed to work. Great.
Agree. And we also provision a files app onto it, and through that you can do. So one thing to note is that, see, right, you see this is an icon with this app, briefcase ZENworks app.
Sure.
So at this point of the time, actually, you have two ZENworks apps on the device. One is running outside your work profile, and this is the app which you downloaded at the start. So if you go back to the apps and where are they? Apps and notifications. Go. Right, see all apps. I see ZENworks here. There are two ZENworks on the device. You see this?
Yes, I do.
Right. So the one which we downloaded from our Play Store, right? So that was actually my personal app, right? Because I bought it from the personal Play Store, and that's where I downloaded. So it has now been disabled. And what it did during the course of the profile creation, it created first the profile and then put the another version, which is the work version of the app, within it.
That's how you manage the work separately. Nice.
Right. So this is the app, the one which is resides within the profile, right? When I go back, this particular app, right? That's the app which is actually going to communicate with the ZENworks server and everything. the app which you downloaded from the personal side, that's been disabled and essentially hidden for all practical purposes.
I see. Excellent.
Okay. So actually during the time of the enrollment, there's a switchover which happens where, let's say, first it creates a profile, then it switches over from the personal app to the app on the work site.
Gotcha.
It's pretty quick, so you don't really get to see it
It's
happening.
dynamic. Interesting.
Right, right. So what else we did was the Wi-Fi, right?
Wi-Fi, yes.
So let's do that. So it has all the networks, and what I realized today is that looking through the same network is very useful to identify where all you have been. So if you see here, we created a network called ZENcast.
Yep.
And that's what appears here, right? It's still saved by ZENworks. So it's already been added, and if you actually get into the range of this network, it will automatically join because that's been configured for this one.
Certainly. Yeah, that's by design, obviously. That's great.
Okay, so this time we have essentially enrolled the device, we have assigned the apps to it, we have provisioned the email onto it, and as you can see, I'm getting many reminders. If you can see, I'm getting many reminders on the profile change and the password change, and that is due to the security policy, which is I'm not really going to do.
Sure.
So as a good thing, what I'm really going to do is I'm going to opt out of it. I don't really want to be in it. So I'll go ahead over here. And let me do this thing. Oh, sorry. So this was my device. Do you think we need to cover anything else on the device? Because in the next step right now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to unenroll from this device.
Okay, I'll go ahead and leave that up to the chat. I don't see anything else in chat. Unless something comes in, let's go ahead and follow through with what you're about to do.
Right. So what I'll do is I'll unenroll this device. And here you have two sets of options. If you have selective wipe and the full wipe. So don't be afraid if you actually even choose the full wipe, right? It is not going to wipe the device if it is a work profile mode or the mode in which I have actually configured it.
Okay.
So just how confident I am, I'm going to do it.
You're a brave man.
Yeah. It tells me. It's not applicable. Because, as I said, right, it's not really an option for there. We'll cancel this quick task. We'll try to do this thing again. So you can't really do that. So a device which has been enrolled in the work profile mode can't be fully wiped at all. So that's just not possible. And admin can't really do anything. So admin can't really control anything. Do you think we should even go into look into the inventory data or anything that's useful?
I think that would be useful. Just give a quick pass on that.
Yeah. So we have inventory reports, right? So let's go there, device list. So device, machine, login number, that's my standard inventory report. So you see my inventory device here. I go to the Pixel 3a. And I see a lot of the data around it. So that's my standard inventory report, tells me the hardware, all this values. So it has 4 gig of the RAM. Interesting, not more. And it tells me all my mobile apps which are installed on the device. So now you would wonder, hey, if I have my personal app, which is there or not. So in Android side of the things, we don't really capture personal data at all. And it's actually, just to prove it to you, what I will do is I'll actually go to the device itself. And we will show you the apps. So yeah, this is something which we missed. Actually, we missed a lot of things, right? We can actually even do a find. Did we do a find my device last time around?
We did not.
We did not?
Okay. No, we did not.
Okay, so we'll then do that also before we go further. So if you see, so these are all the apps information which is available, and that's the same data what we were seeing in the inventory. And you don't really see any personal apps over here. You can go through it. We can't really capture any personal app data at all from an Android device, period. It's just not possible. The only apps which you will see are the apps which are managed apps. So
Managed.
I see.
Right,
So,
okay.
so these are the apps which are managed, which are installed. And I need to see if the web apps are not appearing here, but we'll check back on that. So
we're gonna call out the 10-minute mark, just so you know.
Right.
Okay, thank you.
So at this point of the time, I can try to locate this device, and let me see. You can actually locate work profile device and the work managed device. But it actually, if you see here, I see something like a notification came in, locating device. You saw the notification? Administrator is trying to locate this device. Right. So ZENworks did inform me that the administrator is trying to locate this device, and sometimes here at this, it is a hit and the miss. It may appear, it may not appear. So let me see. We'll wait for that to go in. So we can actually even leave it. So what we are doing over there is that we were actually launching a quick task in the background, and we were trying to fetch the location from the device. So that's what we were trying to do there. And we will leave it there. It's and see, did it came in? No, it's still going on. So we actually have a timeout of maybe a minute or two. So those the notification reached, we could not really fetch the location. Let me try that again.
So if it is lost, let me ask you a question. If it is lost, can you display on the device, if you can connect to it, that return to such and such, or put a message?
No, not for the Android. We can't really. Essentially what we can do is that we can actually lock the device. That's something that you should do.
Oh, sure, yeah.
We actually have the management task over here. So just to give you a quick run through what is possible on a device. So you can refresh the device, you can do inventory scan, you can install a bundle, we can reboot and shut down devices. So this is only applicable for the work managed devices, right? The fully corporate owned devices.
Sure.
An admin can't shut down my personal device. I can lock a device, I can unlock a device, I can even send a message to it. That's something which is also possible. Let me see if that geolocation came in or not. Yeah, we have seen a little bit change in the APIs over a set of the things, and I will then need to see, right? It's generally works.
Yeah.
But something, yeah. Okay, and what else we can actually show you over here? So a lot of the capabilities on this. Yeah.
So under the Android device, if we go back to that Android device, if we go back to the Android device and we look at, go to Actions, go up one to the folder, and check the pixel, and then you do Quick Tasks, enable loss mode and disable loss mode. Is that
so? Those are not applicable for the Android devices. Those are applicable for the iOS devices.
That was my question. Okay, great, thanks.
Right. Let's see if we can able to find the location. It's just going. Okay, Paul, I think we'll give it a miss for this one.
Yeah, it would typically give you the map though in the GPS coordinates.
Right. So what it will give you is that we will give you a link, and if you click on the link, it will open up the Google Maps, and you can find the location on the device. I'm just trying to see if there's a device over here on which I have actually tried to fetch the location in the past. So maybe I can how it actually looks like. No, he didn't do it, and this is not working. Okay, we'll give up on this one.
Yeah.
We're anyway nearing your mark. So we'll go ahead and unroll the device, and we'll do a selective wipe this time around. Right. And I'll do a next, and I'll start. And if you see over here, go. Things should disappear.
It'll happen.
No, I'm just wondering whether I clicked the start or not.
Oh.
Or was I too quick for my fingers? No, it's initiated. So sometimes it takes time.
Yeah.
So the device. Okay, we'll wait for this also to go through. Something is there, right? Sometimes so things work straight away. Yeah, it went through. No more personal there.
There we
right?
go.
It tells you your work profile is no longer available on this device, and that's it. And all the notifications, everything gone. So that's your BYOD enrollment. And I think I'll reach the end of my time also over here.
Well, yeah, this has been a great walkthrough on the Android side. Is just stepping us through. Between the two of them, I think it gives us the audience a good background on how to set it up, how to configure, get the certificates and tokens, and then start with some of the policies and bundles. I think this has been a great demonstration, Vikram. I appreciate your help with this.
Not a problem. I'm happy to help you.
So, yeah, if there's any questions, please send them in the comments after this recording is published. Vikram, we want to thank you again for being with us today and being able to show us the Android side of the MDM, completing our, and we may go into it deeper as new features come aboard. We may have you back. We'd love to have you back to show us those too.
Sure, not a problem.
Yeah. So, is there any last words? I mean, update 2. You said there's some features coming up that should be good.
Yeah, so we are actually making some changes. I mean, we are adding some features on the Android side of the thing. So as I talked about, so we have device assignment capability. It's now possible to assign the apps to the devices, not just to the users. We have another thing through which you can configure that what all initial set of the apps gets enabled on the device. So there's some system app management and some other capabilities also there. So
that's fantastic.
Yeah.
We can't wait to see what's coming up. It's always seems like there's new good stuff coming in as they release the product, new updates and so forth. I think it's going to be great. So thank you so much. I appreciate your assistance today and in this demonstration, and I hope you stay safe and you're healthy out there, you and your family.
Sure. Have a great day. Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
So that's what we have. Next week we're going to try and do ZENworks test environments. Thank you, Vikram, very much for this. This has been very informative. We're going to have ZENworks test environments, both in ZCM and ZSD. How to get them up in minutes so that you can at least get a test environment in your environment, so that you can run some tests on different products. So we're going to run through some of that. We hope to have Peter Sumption on, who was a backline tech support for ZENworks. He has an automated process for ZSD, and other than that, I think we're just about at the end of our time. I hope you guys are doing well out there. I appreciate your input. Sorry for the hiccups this morning on the audio. I appreciate those helps. And Jose, I'll try and get some details in the comments down below of this recording. So visit those a little bit later. I'll hopefully have some links for you for those proxy concepts. And I appreciate everybody's comments. And subscribe down below if you want to see when we go live next time. And we enjoy having you here. Stay safe and be kind. Take care.